Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
Well, this is a little bit weird, everyone. It is just me, so I wanted to hop on real quick, talk about that Browns preseason game we all got to watch, or maybe you were watching the gold medal game. I was switching between both before we go into our normal sports week because the Browns have joint practice this week. But let me rewind. Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show. My name is Noah. Typically, I don't do this by myself. Matt having a really long work week. I told him it was okay. I was going to hold down the fort, do a quick little one-person episode and see what it was like, because I haven't done one of these since we started the podcast almost a year ago now. It was around August of last year we started this. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening where they listen to their podcasts, whether that be Spotify, Apple Music, Odyssey, iHeart, wherever. Really appreciate it. Want to shout out everybody tuning in live. We go live typically every Monday and Wednesday, depending on everybody's schedules. I plan to go live every Monday and Wednesday because that's just where I'm at with life. But with that being said, this is going to be kind of a quick roundup, 10, 15-minute episode talking Cleveland Browns football while I sip my pre-workout because it's been a long day and I'm going to the gym after this. Want to say one last thing. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Helps us grow the channel a ton. Check us out on Instagram and YouTube at East Bank Sports Show and the Fanatical Elves, where we get all of our funding and our backing from the Fans First Sports Network. That being said, let's get right into this. And I want to talk very briefly, and I keep pushing the fact that this is going to be a short episode, but I want to talk very briefly about, the Browns preseason game. The Browns lost to the Packers 23-10 this week. Want to just talk about it. I have a list of notes that I kind of want to get into, some of my reactions, my thoughts from the game, and I'm just going to jump right into this. I'll probably take a break around the 5-minute mark, just so for those who are watching, so we can have the ad break, pay some bills. Let's get into it. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I think, was the highlight for most people during this game. He went 14 for 18 with 134 passing yards. He was mobile. He was looking like himself out there. He finished with a 97.7 passer rating. All things we love to see from the second-year quarterback that we hope to develop into our long-term backup for Deshaun Watson. With that being said, as I was talking to Matt, who is the co-host of my show here with me, he still does this show. He gave me some input, some notes that I wanted to write down. He wasn't impressed by Tyler Huntley. I had a fun time watching him. Tyler Huntley is Tyler Huntley. We've seen him in the Baltimore Ravens uniform for years. DTR looks strong. I still think he could be the odd man out. You sign two quarterbacks, and obviously Deshaun Watson is not going anywhere in the offseason. I still think they're hoping that maybe he'll clear waivers and go to our practice squad this year, or we'll trade him. But hey, I'm fine with him looking good because maybe we'll get some more value, which gets me to our next point. We traded for Nick Harris solely because Luke Whippler broke his ankle. And I want to say shout out to Luke Whippler, prayers, thoughts, all of that to him, because as a fellow offensive lineman who broke his ankle in his past, know what it's like, know what that recovery is like. Prayers for you, man. Hopefully you get back to the point where you were being, because you were looking to be our backup center this year, which Lord knows with how this team has been with injuries, what that could have turned into be. But Nick Harris is back to be the backup center. And of course, our big bodied fullback that he was last year. That was my favorite part of Nick Harris's time in Cleveland. We traded for him a 6th-round pick for Nick Harris in a 7th. Maybe we move on from DTR and get a 6 back, and look at us. We're right back where we started. Who knows, though? I'm also a fan of DTR. I've been watching his vlog since UCLA, so I hope they don't trade him. But I could really see them trading him. I'm going to cut to commercial break real quick. I'm sorry if the pacing's a little bit weird. I'm getting used to doing this by myself for the first time with all the ad placements and the breaks and everything. We'll be right back with the East Bank Sports Show at the office after these commercial breaks. And we're back with the East Bank Sports Show, running this thing solo dolo on the pre-workout edition. Shout out the Star Wars blender bottle. Really do truly appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, hit the subscribe button. Helps us grow the channel an absolute ton. Let's get back into this. So, we had most of the starters sit out this game, unfortunately. Got to see some O-line play. My boy Wyatt Teller, if I can duck my head and point at him real quick, did play in this game, as well as Ethan Posick, starting center for the Browns. They played like about a series. Didn't see anything that I could really, write home about. It was about as good as a performance as you would expect out of a couple series from your starters. Something else to note, the defense let up 155 on the ground. They looked kind of rough. Again, resting a bunch of their starters. I'm not super worried about it. The main reason I wanted to do this show today was to tell everybody in Cleveland to relax a little bit. You know what I mean? I know there were some people trolling about being upset on Twitter, but then some people took that and were actually upset about the Cleveland Browns output in this first preseason game. I just want to make it very much known, if you couldn't tell by the fact that our field wasn't painted, that we were wearing the same uniforms we're going to wear for the next 4 weeks in terms of the preseason, 3 weeks, excuse me. Kevin Stefanski and company do not care about the preseason like this. They like getting the guys out there that they need to, warm them up a little bit, bring out the starters maybe one drive, and let's get to the season. So anything that we're seeing is very bare bones Cleveland Browns football right now, and I'm not personally worried about it. That's just me, though. Another couple points I want to touch on before I wrap this thing up. Cade York, I think, is going to find another home in the NFL. He hit that longer field goal to start off our scoring. It was our first 3 points on the board. I think we might have been honestly doing a good faith move because we kind of kicked him to the wayside for Dustin Hopkins, in which we brought him in to hopefully get him into another home, because right now he looks a lot more like what he claimed to be. Granted, he didn't kick a whole bunch, and I could see him kicking the rest of the preseason because Dustin Hopkins, for whatever reason, as a kicker, does have an injury history. I think they'll kick Cade York and hopefully give him another home as a good faith move as a front office, which we'd like to see because that means you're a good front office at the end of the day. Devin Bush, I think, is going to be a great contributor this year. He looked really good during his defensive snaps. What else do I got? David Bell, Cedric Tillman looked pretty damn good, all things considered, during their time on the field. Tillman, minus that rub route that they threw the flag on. David Bell, I believe, got hurt on that play as well. That's kind of been the story of David Bell's NFL career. That has been the story of it so far, unfortunately, because he's always hurt or something's wrong. And unfortunately, he doesn't get to see the field. And I don't know what I'm going to make of him. He's going into, I believe, year 3 of this David Bell thing. Haven't seen much of him on the field, as, at the time we were thinking he was going to be Jarvis Landry 2.0. It's just, I don't know how I feel about any of the receivers we drafted. Tillman looks good. Biggest thing with Tillman is relying on Tillman to do the right thing on the field. The announcers during that rub route, if you know what I'm talking about, we're talking about how it was very ticky-tacky. To me, it looked like he was pushing the defender and it was a holding call, which I believe is what the call on the field was. So for me, I'm happy with the receiver core. One last note I want to touch on is Amari Cooper looked engaged on the sideline. I know there was a lot of drama this weekend because the trade came out that we supposedly sent the 49ers Amari a 2nd and a 5th for Brandon Ayuk. And then Amari posted on his story. To me, Amari looked engaged. I don't think he's really a drama wide receiver. He's never really been a drama wide receiver. It's a business. It's the NFL. He can post. He can be upset. I would be upset too if I was in that position. He is not arguably. He is the best wide receiver to wear orange and brown since the return in 99. He has the right to be upset. And we have no right to tell him he shouldn't be upset. It is a business. He's still a person. He still has feelings. I side with Amari. At the same time, if he were to leave or throw a tantrum about it, tantrum's not the right word. I hate when people say tantrum with NFL grown men. But I digress. I just don't want I'm not opposed to anything that happened. It looks like everything's going to blow over smoothly, and maybe we sign Amari for a little bit longer. Probably not. I think this is his last year, but as the guy who likes to keep the players in Cleveland for as long as possible, that's kind of where I'm at. But I want to open it up to you guys. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below, in the ratings of the podcast and that kind of thing. And I'm going to go into my final thoughts and takes. Final thoughts and takes are normally like a hot take segment I do with the multiple people that we have here on the East Bank Sports Show, whether it be me, Matt, Eric, or John, depending on the branding of the show. I'm going to keep it short and simple because it's just me today, just me doing it solo dolo, like I've been saying. Browns are moving to Brook Park. Me and Eric talked about this last week on the At the Office edition of the East Bank Sports Show. It's going to happen. The city has pushed back. They had a press conference today. They were talking about their rebuttal plan to give money to renovate the current stadium. I could go through the whole gambit of why it makes no sense and why Brook Park makes more sense. It's going to happen. It's what the Haslams want to do. They're the owners of the team, and they're going to fund a majority of the Brook Park project. It's going to happen. I'm sorry. It's going to happen. Right now, we're just looking at Cleveland politicians trying to save face, and good for them. I would probably do the same thing in their position, but they're going to Brook Park. So everybody just wrap up for that. Get ready for that dome. Pictures looked sweet as hell if you didn't get to see them. But other than that, I think I gave you guys a quick little roundup of all my thoughts. Some of Matt's thoughts were sprinkled in there, so I want to give Matt his credit. That wasn't all me. That was a conglomeration of both of our thoughts. Matt was actually at the preseason game. So everybody, shout out Matt. He should be back next week. We should be all good to go. But with that being said, Cleveland, it has been a nice 13-minute get in here, spit my truth on the mic, and get out so I can go work out and do the rest of the stuff I have going on today. Trust me, it has been a busy day for your boy. I appreciate everybody that tuned in live. I appreciate everybody that is watching on YouTube, watching and listening wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, Cleveland, have a great rest of your week.